That being said, you did mention the PAX case and also, the Chapter 11 trustee and also the lawyer from the bankruptcy firm that was that was also a part of the bankruptcy case. Can you give us a little bit more of the arguments made in that through that witness and also the direct examination?
I think so because this is really the whole journey of Miles Guo's unrestricted lawfare, and also I would say that's a history of whistleblower movement and new federal state of China under the shadow of the CCP and CCP's persecution. The movement actually grew so much, and so from the PAX case started in 2017, which lasted 5 years up to 2022 February 15th, where Miles Guo declared bankruptcy. It's because this is directly related to the last court order from the PAX case, which basically literally says, say to Miles Guo that you have to turn up 134 million US dollars within 5 business days, otherwise you're going to jail. So that's basically prompt the Chapter 11 bankruptcy petition application, specifically on February 15th, which is the 6th day after the court decision and within the 5 business days period. So, and then that basically it started another kind of a epic fight, which we witnessed quite a bit unusual things happening. When I saw Paul Hastings, the trustee, was appointed as the trustee for the debtor, that gives me. That gives me quite a huge amount of unease, because I know Paul Hastings has been working closely, especially Paul Hastings as a global law firms. They have lots of clients in China, and these are directly controlled. These entities are directly controlled by the CCP or the state-owned companies. So that's put almost the law firm directly in conflict with Miles Guo, because we all know Miles Guo is the CCP enemy #1. So when you get a law firm who possibly near half of their profits are coming from one party, which is Chinese Communist Party, so that puts me really at unease. That's also why Miles Guo actually appealed the decision of why against Luc Despins. Luc Despins being appointed as the trustee for his Chapter 11's case, but also prior to his appointment, we witnessed some kind of a terms about appointing the trustee in the first place, because Luc Despins was not the first trustee. Some other gentleman named Whitley, was first going through the full vetting period, and it was properly checked, and it was appointed as a trustee, but very, very strangely, quickly be replaced, and in violation, particularly in the bankruptcy court. I remember at that time, the judge, Manning, was saying that, talking to the trustee office and say, the way you remove the first trustee is in directly violation of the bankruptcy rule. And she specifically warned and said you cannot move replacing people like this and putting another trustee in the way. But I don't know what happened. Nobody's, other than the debtor was, motion and reject, but the court eventually uphold the appointment of Luc Despins, the second trustee. And then ever since that, I just learned from this testimony that Luc Despins and the trustee and trustee's firm has already took more than 300 actions, right? They have collected more than 25 million fees, and they recovered 100 million. So their fees is like a quarter of what's covered that. Right, so that's the second bankruptcy proceeding, and there's lots of things. There's TROs, there's temporary restraining order, there's protests, there's lots of things going through that, but it's all to do with the CCP at the back. That leads to today, basically, the criminal cases, because the CCP has always wanted to repatriate, bring back Miles Guo, or eliminate him forever, right? That's the goal of the CCP, and they want to destroy Miles Guo. They want to destroy what the movement, the whistleblower movement that started and basically led by Miles Guo. So that has been the only purpose of the CCP, I guess. But right now we're witnessing this in the United States. That's why we wanted to tell American, including those American governments, the good people who are working within governments, because a lot of things they don't know, right? They really don't know. They don't have the whole puzzles. They only see one piece in front of them. So that's why we're hoping by tuning in and pay attention to Miles Guo's trial, you will be able to put all those missing pieces together. So you will be able to see the full picture, what's going on, and what is the danger and threat to America.
I want to add just a little bit more on the PAX case. In fact, that a PAX stands for Asia Pacific Opportunity Fund, and in Mr. Guo's role in it was because Mr. Guo, in the past times, made a personal guarantee between a loan that PAX, the Asia Pacific Opportunity Fund loaned to a company named the Shining Time Leading, I believe.
Yeah.
And then it's documented. Actually, PAX had already started legal actions since 2015, and it was the year when Miles fled from communist China to United States. And so, PAX started there and, asked for a series of actions to ask Shining Time Leading to repay the loan. And, the loan was failed. And if we look at the timeline of when PAX has actually initiated that lawsuit into the New York Supreme High Court, it was actually the day right before the April 19th, 2017. It was the exact date that the Chinese Communist Party issued the arrest notice to Miles Guo. It was simply because that Miles has announced to the public that he will appear on Voice of America, whistleblowed about corruptions and families hiding a huge amount of assets overseas related to one of the top officials of the Chinese Communist Party. So we could call it as a retaliation from the Chinese Communist Party, seeing Miles gaining more influence, by whistleblowing about CCP's internal corruptions. And so it was at that time, like what Ava said, PAX started to initiate a series of actions which request Mr. Guo to, repay the loan by fine, 134 million within 5 business days with immediate payment, and with returning one of the yachts that was actually owned and controlled by Mr. Guo's daughter, Mei Guo, and by saying that, if the yacht was not returned to the jurisdictions on time, that for each day, Mr. Guo and his family will pay 500,000 USD dollars for per day, just as the fine for the yacht. So a series of legal actions, had been initiated since the day that Mr. Guo officially, publicly stated and whistleblowed about CCP's corruption. So along that, road, that we understand how much pressure Mr. Guo and his family had been endured from the Chinese Communist Party. And just as what Ava had been introduced, right? It was because of the huge amount of fine and under that pressure that Mr. Guo actually did not even move a single penny of the investors' money to repay the fine, right? Instead, Mr. Guo chose to file, personal bankruptcy in Connecticut, United States, to avoid and to cut all of these legal burden. And so that's where lead Mr. Guo today. And I think what the government was trying to say is to use all these past legal cases to portray that Mr. Guo has many of lawsuits, and this person has been in huge legal trouble, as it always is, and was trying to say he owed creditors for a lot of money, so it was no wonder that another fraud scheme had been taking place. But in fact, that if we look at the root cause, it always comes from CCP's attacks.
That's right.
So this was exactly why we're pointing out the CCP elements along Mr. Guo's fight to take down the CCP.
And one of the things I wanted people to connect to, because the Miles Guo had 76 legal cases, and many of those cases are brought by the CCP proxies, just like the PAX case, right? Because we have been long claimed that the chairman, the executive chairman of the PAX, which is the parent company called PAG, are actually run by the CCP spies. His name is Shan Weijian. But if you're looking at the creditor, so the trustee and working with the credit committee, okay? So if you're looking at who are calling, who are on the creditor list, okay? These are connected with the 76 legal cases. There's a reason why the CCP using so many proxies, because so they can say, I'm a legitimate creditor. For example, one of the creditors, her name is Rui Ma, and she was accusing Miles Guo raping her. Okay, and if you look at the initial complaints from her, and this sounds strange because I've never looked at any other raping case complaint, but this case has no location, no time. The entire complaint is very, very bizarre. Okay, when I read it the first time, I was thinking, this does not pinpoint anything because there's no specific information about wrongdoing. So and Rima never, under the repeated requests, but during the past 5 years after she brought the complaint, and she never showed up for even one deposition. Okay, so she is a mystery to many of us, but she has remained on the creditor list. Okay, just give you a sense of who are those the trustee are working with. The trustee are working with so-called creditors, and this is just one of the cases, and many of them are actually on the among the 76 legal cases that Miles was still facing. So this is another way of saying the CCP the invisible hands are all over the place.